Shelbe King is the Vice President of In-Home Operations at Freudenthal and is a licensed master's level social worker. Today she will be taking on the power of hope. If we can find a way to package and dispense hope, we would have a pill more powerful than any antidepressant on the market. She will be talking about hope as the belief that circumstances will get better. She will be giving hints, clues, and options to explore during these uncertain times. It is my pleasure to turn it over to Shelbe King as she presents the Reclaiming of Hope. Thank you, Shelbe.
Good morning. So, what are some of the words that we've heard 20 times a day for the last 4 months? Shelter in place, flatten the curve, social distancing, quarantine, no toilet paper, no beef, no groceries, working from home, COVID, fighting, racism, protest, cleaning supplies. The new normal is an oxymoron. And yes, it's new, but it definitely isn't normal. And you may feel drained just trying to keep up. It's definitely stressful, it's overwhelming, it's depressing all at the same time. While we know it's helpful to stay calm, and we do know that, we try to stay positive, we try to stay optimistic, but it's definitely easier said than done. I'm hoping today that a reminder of hope, along with a few pointers, can help us all survive and thrive in these uncertain times. These challenges also offer up an opportunity for growth. One of the things that I've done as a VP of in-home services with our staff is if something bad happens, we all always regroup, we talk about it, we bring out that whiteboard, we try to learn from what's happening, and we try to make things better. And so I hope that I can instill that with you today. Hope is definitely an emotion. And if you were in front of me, I would be, wanting some interaction right now. I would ask you, do you think hope comes from your brain or do you think it comes from your heart? There's so many studies out there. It's something that comes from within, meaning it comes from your heart, it comes from your soul. It's one of those things that lays dormant until something like this happens, and then it awakens. It's supplying a sheer belief that we will overcome. We will persevere. We will be able to endure anything and everything that comes our way. It's not a wish that things will get better. It's an actual belief. The knowledge that things will get better no matter how big or small. It's that belief after a disaster, and the disaster can be anything. It could be the loss of a job, the loss of a loved one. It could be a fire that took your home. It could be a tornado. When I was preparing for today, I was thinking about when my family and I went to Joplin after that huge 2-mile wide tornado that happened. We went the day after, and we were basically going to help physically after the debriefing, after we got back. We mainly talked about how we were able to mentally help them. There was a lot of debriefing that was going on. And one of the things that I learned was that there were 2 kinds of physical survivors. There were the psychological victims and then the psychological survivors. The victims were the ones that were pessimistic. They kept reliving and looking to the past. They were full of despair. They were consumed by their loss. But then on the opposite end were the survivors. They were active. They were right there with us with their garbage bags and just trying to put pieces back together. And they looked to the future. They weren't stuck in the past and what happened. They were looking to the future and what they were going to do about it. Yeah, they were grieving normally, which is healthy, but you knew that they were going to continue to persevere and fight. So we are in very uncertain times right now. Sometimes we feel like we just don't know what to do, and anxiety is tearing a lot of people apart. One of the words that came to my mind is fear. Fear can do a lot of damage. Fear of the unknown. Fear tends to scatter your thought process. It kind of pulls you in different directions because you have a lot of what ifs. And guess what it stands completely opposite to? It stands opposite to hope. It stands opposite to peace. I looked up the definition of peace, and I didn't look in the dictionary. I looked for the biblical terminology of peace, and I'm so glad that I did because it brought a smile to my face. And it's a word in the Greek version that means joined or bound together. It's not something that I instantly thought of when I was thinking about peace, because I was thinking about tranquility and being calm. But to see that it meant joined or bound together, of course, biblical, it means united with Him, but it also means with each other. And so, yeah, it definitely made me smile. So we need rest and refreshment. The journey of late has been too much and has made the best of us definitely bone weary. I'm here to say, don't be ashamed of your exhaustion. People talk about mental exhaustion, and it is such a true thing. I've always said I'd rather jog 5 miles instead of sitting on my hiney for all day long, because it just makes you tired. It makes you exhausted. And then to put something on that, seeing the news all the time and everything, it makes us sad and it makes us fearful. But remember that we could fit everything into a pattern for good, including the things that you wish were different. I'm going to say, start where you are right now. Whenever I was at KU getting my master's degree, we had a class called The Strengths Perspective. And I can't tell you how many days we learned the phrase, start where the person is. I've always been kind of a person that never really agreed with, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but the psychiatrists that want to dwell on the past and bring up your past and let's talk about your past. To me, that never really does any good. Yes, you should deal with it, but let's work on today. Let's work on today, and let's work on tomorrow, and what are we going to do about it? We're going to get through this today, one step at a time, one moment at a time today. And I'm going to say your main responsibility is to be attentive. Be attentive to, what you're feeling, what you're going through, what your family is going through. And just be attentive to what you need to do about it. This sounds like an easy assignment, but it's not. Much of your weariness results from our constant battle that we're having. And, it's the battle with going against the grain of the world, going against the flesh, going against the devil. Mental pain is much less dramatic than physical pain. Mental pain is much more common, but it's harder to hear. And I'm going to give you a good analogy. How much easier is it for you to say, my tooth hurts versus my heart hurts? We are, in a society where it's sometimes not okay to share our mental anguish. But one of the most dangerous practices that we can have is to kind of push all that stuff down. We need to talk to people. We need to talk to our friends. And it's about time that we stop being, presenting all put together. So what do? So, we're still going to be faced with all those things that I said, and we're definitely going to be heading to the grocery store and looking at those empty shelves. We're definitely going to be faced with all those social activities that are canceled, and we're constantly going to be barraged with all the news stories. But I hope today I'm going to give you a few pointers. And these pointers I'm going to give you, it's nothing new. Believe me, I'm just reminding you. We all need some good reminders. Okay, so number 1, keep to a schedule. And I know that is definitely going to be easier said than done, because when we think of schedules, we're thinking about the past. We're thinking about the schedule we used to have. It's time to make that new schedule. Before you go to bed at night or early the next morning, make that to-do list. I find personally great pleasure in being able to cross things off my list. And I hope that, maybe that will bring somebody some joy too. Stay informed. Okay, now this one I want you to be careful with, because this is going to be a huge balance. So I want you to stay informed, But maybe instead of watching the news all day long, you might just watch it for maybe half an hour when you first wake up, because too much of staying informed will cause fear and anxiety. So, and make sure that you get your information from reliable sources like the World Health Organization and people that you trust, because sometimes we have a tendency to look on the internet and talk to others that may not know the whole story, and so just make sure you be careful about staying informed. But we need to practice calming techniques. So different people relax in different ways. You have to find what works for you, but then I also want to challenge you to try something new. Deep breathing, take a warm bath, sitting with your pet, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I actually used to work for a mental health agency, and I used to see people that were considered chronically mentally ill in their homes, and I went for quite a while, and I noticed that people weren't opening up until I started bringing my little doggy with me. And he would sit beside us, and that person would start, petting my dog, and before you know it, all this stuff came out. And if you will look at studies prove that pets will lower your blood pressure and do all kinds of great things for you. So if you have a pet, make sure you have them beside you, and that you're constantly talking to them and petting them, and they definitely can bring people some calming measures. Give yourself a foot massage. I know that sounds kind of weird, but instead of going to the spa like some of us are used to, give yourself a foot massage. Cook healthy comfort food. Read a favorite book. Drink a cup of herbal tea. Light scented candles. Create something. Expressing yourself through creative means can be definitely therapeutic. If you're finding it hard to express what you're feeling, channel your feelings into creating something that can be cathartic. And I'm going to talk about this one. Write in a journal. This is something I definitely used to use a lot with my patients. Even if you don't think you're the best writer, there's something so therapeutic about getting your thoughts from here to here in that book. You're letting it go. Whether it's keeping a diary or expressing your feelings, writing in a journal is very, very calming. It can be calming. Take up hand lettering, calligraphy, write a poem, a short story, paint by number. If you don't know how to do needlework or crocheting or knitting, teach yourself how to do it. Find healthy distractions. Okay, the next one is connect with loved ones. I also had to smile when I was thinking about this one, because so before COVID, before all this craziness, seeing some of the patients, they used to tell me, gosh, it's been a long time since I've seen my family. Oh gosh, it's been a long time since I've seen my grandkids. But guess what COVID, on a positive note, has done for us? Those grandkids are now Skyping, they're Facebooking, they're sending letters to Grandma and Grandpa. It has been the most wonderful thing for family during this time. And if you haven't yet, take a moment to handwrite a letter to some of those loved ones, especially if you're feeling isolated. Find activities that bring you joy. Now, this is a little bit different than the calming techniques, because calming is supposed to kind of bring you down. Joy is supposed to bring you up. They're both positive, but joy is supposed to bring you up. So, me included, I know that I used to like to go to plays and symphonies and ballets and theaters. Shutting it down has been really, really hard, but I want you to know that many of those places bring their offerings online. You just have to look for them. Take, for example, the Berlin Philharmonic. They are going with live streams, free live streams. Find something that is meaningful to you that will bring joy. Example, create a family tree. Scrapbook. These things not only can bring you joy while you're doing it, but these are things that's going to bring meaning and purpose later to your family, especially if you're going to journal while you scrapbook. Find ways to laugh. This is always number one. Humor is a wonderful coping mechanism in times of crisis. Turns to sources that are funny, whether it's a movie, a TV show, and we all know those friends that make us laugh. So, make sure that you're sitting next to somebody or on the phone with somebody that is going to make you laugh. Okay, plan for the future. There's going to come a time when we're back to normal or new normal. Make a future list of the things that you want to do. Plan a fun event for your family when you're out of isolation. Make a bucket list of things that you want to do. Make some goals for yourself. This one is one of my favorites. Help others. Amid all the stories of people fighting over toilet paper, it's important to remember that we are all in this together. We're standing far apart now so we can embrace each other later. That quote is actually from Italy. It's a mantra that they've been using. I'm going to say it again. We're standing far apart now so we can embrace each other later. It's no coincidence that those who focus on others in need and support their communities, especially during this time of crisis, tend to be happier and healthier. Doing kind and helpful acts for others can help you regain a sense of control in your life. And just to give you some things that you could do and what I'm talking about, we all know someone that's alone in their home. Just call them. See if you can run some errands for them if you're able to get out. Go pick up their prescription for them. Go get their groceries for them. Leave some happy packages on their doorstep as a surprise. Donate to food banks. Be a calming influence. I talked about, don't go around those friends that's going to bring you down. Don't be one of those people that bring others down. Make sure that you're always happy and trying to be positive for other people. The last thing I'm going to only say one sentence about because one of our most wonderful physical therapy assistants is going to talk about this, but it's like one of the most important things ever during this time. Move your body. If you calm the tension in your body, and this is a true thing, if you calm the tension in your body, you calm the tension in your mind. Physical and mental health are delicately intertwined. Okay, I'm going to give you some takeaways from all the stuff that I said today, and I know that I've given you a lot to think about. So, I'm not rebuking you. I'm not telling you to get your acts together or just letting you know how much worse it could be. I'm not telling you that you'll never get more than you can handle. There's no bootstrapping, guilt tripping, or heavy load throwing. Instead, I'm telling you to do something. Do something. Touch someone, feed someone twice, 3 times, 4 times. Give someone a tangible acknowledgement of your presence. And you don't have to be physically with someone to let them know that you are there for them. Get hot bread out of the oven. Comfort food, more comfort food. Maybe a casserole with some extra cheese. Maybe a pan of double chocolate brownies. Nourishment for their body and soul. Not just for you, but for someone else. Thank you for letting me share with you today.